In this video, I want to continue looking at disjunctive syllogism and disjunctive premises. Remember, the major premise will have the either or option laid out for you. And the rule of all of this is at least one of those options has to obtain. Alright, so either my brother Jim is in Dallas or he is in Montreal. He is not in Dallas, so if this option is eliminated, this one must obtain. There's your conclusion. Whether it's true or not, that's a valid conclusion. Again, whether it's a true conclusion is, well, let's check. Is he really in Montreal? Let's call him. Let's see if it correlates to reality. So we're going to go ahead and stick with truth as the quality a proposition has when it correlates to reality, as opposed to a validity, which is how it fits into a logical flow, a logical construct. All right, now, either my brother Jim is in Dallas or he is in Montreal. He is in Dallas. Sometimes because of the way the terms are set up, we understand Jim to be one single term, and these to be different geographic locales, and it's impossible for this material entity to be in this material locale, and also in this material locale if those two are separated from each other. So even though this does not take on the language of exclusivity, we sort of understand that it is. It's so that if he is in Dallas, he cannot be in Montreal, and actually one is eliminated. Now, we can say, well, I'll go ahead and put that back. We can say, well, look, maybe he himself is in Dallas and his picture or his face on a video screen like Skype or some sort of video stream on a computer is in Montreal, so he really is in both places. But at that point, we cease to treat Jim as a term that has one meaning. We've turned it into two terms. The term that means Jim, the material body Jim, and then Jim, the screen presence. And at that point, we're equivocating. We're adding more to the terms, all right? But so we usually say in the same sense, in the same time, Jim cannot be in Dallas or Montreal. That's why when we do have an affirmative, we can actually also imply a negation of one of the options. Okay, but you just have to look at the way the major premise is set up and what does it actually mean, and you might be able to draw a conclusion even when you're given an affirmative. You realize though that if we had done this, either A or B, and then down here we did A, then we could not say down here not B, because we just don't know enough content to understand that this was really exclusive. Now, the way this is phrased, we cannot draw this conclusion. This is invalid. In fact, we can't draw any conclusion. But if we did this, but not both, then if we have A, then down here we can go not B. Now that's in symbolic terms a dash or a hyphen before it, a minus sign before the term is going to be not B. Okay. Okay. What happens if you have more than two options? Like this one. Either the computer is working, option 1. That's so like either A, or the light is working, okay, B, or the radio is on, C. So it's either A, B, or C. If we have the computer is not working, we've taken away this option. So what is our conclusion is whatever's left. And in this case, whatever's left happens to be two more options down here. So we do have a conclusion down here. It's just a shortened major premise. So let me do this quickly. I should have written this out already, but if we have A, B, or C as our major premise, and then we go not A, what we are left with, therefore, it's B or C. See? I mean, it follows. Just if we take away an option, then obviously what we're left with is the conclusion, which is down at the bottom, B or C. Okay, let's take a look. What if we go either the computer is working, or the light is working, or the radio is on? And we go the computer is not working, so we took away this. And we said the radio is off, which is basically saying the radio is not on. So then we take away this. Well, whatever we have left is our conclusion. So at this point, our conclusion is the light is working. Again, it remains to be seen as to whether that is true. But that is the valid conclusion. Now what about this? Either the computer is working, or the light is working, or the radio is on. If all we have then is an affirmation of one of the others, and we realize that the major premise is not exclusive, then we cannot draw any conclusion. We cannot say, well, the light is not working, or the radio is not on, or the light is not working and the radio is off. We can't say any of that. We just don't know. That might be the case, but it doesn't have to be. And whatever doesn't, the conclusion is always going to be what has to be the case, given the major premise and the minor premise. So if we don't have anything that is obviously necessarily the case after these two are articulated, then we don't have a conclusion. Can't draw anything from that one. Now, I do want to point out that there is a weird thing that goes on with the human agency. Okay, and I want to label that intentional agency versus non-intentional agency. The word intentional has a lot of various and funny definitions. Let's just say here that this has to speak of someone's will, someone's choice, someone's determination to make an option happen. And think of a father that says to his child, either you will finish the chore or you must go to your room. Okay, so the father is sort of making sure that he's going to be in charge of making one of these options obtain, at least one. But you know what might be the case is that maybe you finish the chore and then you still have to go to your room, or you finish the chore. Well, you know what could be the case is that you don't finish the chore, and then the father has mercy on you or whatever, or forgets, and you don't go to your room. So whenever you're dealing with an intentional agency, you got to be careful about what the person actually says and what actually is going to take place. Because one thing about humans is that they break their promises. But when we are talking about non-intentional agency, we're trying to assess the the state of affairs without any more activity being placed upon it, just how it stands as it is naturally as its own state of affairs. So whenever you're dealing with a human making a promise, you can't really expect that the logical outcome is always going to follow. That's basically the rule of thumb there. Although it should, and although you could probably hold the human accountable to understanding that the logical outcome was indeed, say, the only outcome or whatnot, the fellow might just end up laughing at you. So, alright, there you have it. That's part 2 of disjunctive syllogisms.